Welcome to another episode of Experts Speak. I'm Michael Delana, and today I'm talking with Brian Dalmaso. And Brian, thanks for squeezing me into your schedule.
No, happy to do it, Michael. It's my pleasure and honor to be here.
Man, it is going to be a great conversation. So Brian is an entrepreneur. He's got lots of businesses going on. I'm going to let him tell you about that. But the reason I wanted you on this podcast, Brian, is what you do to help people, as you say, think, act, and operate like the world's 1%. Mm-hmm. And I want to dive deep into that because I know firsthand the importance of the right mindset and how limiting beliefs can hold us back and things of that nature. I know you can go a lot further. So let's go there. But first of all, tell us, how in the world did you get to do this?
Yeah, I'll try to get you the condensed version, right? Because I'm 51 years old and there's been a lot between age 0 and now that got me here. So my background is traditional. It's engineering for 10 years, mechanical engineering with GE. Okay. Then I got to architecture, construction, started to be an entrepreneur, built the company, had some successes, failures, married, divorced, pretty typical, results, I guess I would say. So, but then I met a mentor, right? At age 41 years old, I met Bob Proctor, who some of your audience might know him, and I had the pleasure to mentee with him for 10 years before he passed away this past July. And, he'd been studying the mind for 63 years straight, every single day for 63 years. He studied from the scientific side, the theological side, the religious side, the metaphysics, the quantum mechanics. And he just studied how the most successful people think and act and operate, right? Your spirit, your intellect, and your body. Now, think about this, Michael. You can take anybody, right? And if you can show them how to think and act and physically operate like Warren Buffett, then they're going to get the results of Warren Buffett, right? Humans are humans. It's just we have different environmental experiences. So I can't take credit for any of this. I've just been taught by the world's best, been a really good student, and I've used it to create over 36 revenue streams myself. 22 of them came this past year. So it's like that hockey stick thing, right? I've been studying for 10 years with him and in this, and I started to build revenue streams. And so, we built like 14 in 10 years. And then this last year has been just that hockey stick effect. So just super grateful to be here. And I'm really grateful to have had Bob as my mentor. And that's usually the way it happens. If you, I always say to people, if you grew up with Warren Buffett as your dad, like you'd be a billionaire and you wouldn't think anything of it. So it's kind of like that type of thing. Just very blessed.
Well, it is, and that's good. And I love that heart attitude there. I've been in mastermind groups for years, right? And I always tell people you need to be in a mastermind group to surround yourself with other people. And I'm pretty particular about the mastermind groups I join because I want to make sure I'm not the smartest guy in the room.
That's the best way to be.
Yeah. And so it's really cool. So, all right. So let's go back to what have you learned in 10 years with Bob Proctor and other thing and studying. How do the world's 1% think, act, and operate? And how do you define the 1%? What do you mean by that? Let's unpack that.
It's just results. I want to be clear. It doesn't mean anybody's any better or any worse. It's just results driven, right? There's 1% of athletes, 1% of people that are financially wealthy, 1% of people that understand the spiritual element. It's just if you look at all the categories of what I call wealth, which is finance, business, health, environment, philanthropy, relationships, right? It's the people that are operating at the highest levels. And the way I look at it is the people that are doing what they want, with who they want, when they want, where they want. And that's what I've been able to do over the past 10 years, working towards that. So I want to be clear. It doesn't mean that anybody's any better than anybody else.
Right.
It's just we're getting the 1% or fraction of 1% of results. And, I guess some of it starts with finance, but it's really all the areas of life.
It is. And it can start with finance. Doesn't have to, right? I started my business.
Not at all.
I found it the other day, Brian. I was in my closet and I found a check register and I pulled it out. I can't tell you the last time I wrote a check, right? But I looked, it was my original check register of starting this company. I put into my bank account, my business bank account, $250 to start what today is Paperback Expert. And I'm like, that is so crazy. So money has something to do with it, but more important than that is really your mindset and how do you think about the world, the future, philanthropy. Do you wait to give? I'm a follower of Christ, big giver. And I tell people all the time, start giving now. If you're not giving now, you're not going to give when you're a millionaire. It's just not going to happen.
That's 100% true. 100% true. And it's actually a universal law or God's law that goes hand in hand. It's the law of cause and effect. It's no different than saying, if I want light to come out of this bulb, I got to turn the switch on. So we never get before giving. It doesn't work that way. Now, you don't have to give money. It could be love. It could be time. It could be helping out. It could be a whole bunch of things. So it's not just money when you're giving, but we do need to put energy out if we expect to get.
Yeah.
And it's one of the principles that we're not taught in school. So most people don't ever get.
Right. Right. And that's one of the other reasons we need to surround ourselves with people like you, other trainees, masterminds, whatever, because our schooling system is not taught to make us entrepreneurs and thinkers.
You literally took that out of my mouth. We say that, but it's true, right? We're taught a little math, little science, little history, little English. We're taught memory, right? The faculty of memory. We're not taught to reason. We're not taught to think. Yeah. The reasoning, there's nothing wrong with memory. We do need memory, but you can't build wealth with memory.
That's right.
Right? We build wealth by thinking and masterminding and sharing ideas and creating. Yeah. So, and it's not the school system's fault. It's just generational and societal ignorance. It's just, they don't know.
They don't know. That's right. Yeah. And when you don't know, you're either going to be part of the system or you're going to start searching out, well, what is, I remember standing in a bookstore years ago, 30, 40 years ago, looking down and seeing a book with a red cover called How to Master the Art of Selling by Tom Hopkins. I picked it up, I bought it, I read it. It got me out of being an auto mechanic to going into real estate sales. And I've been in kind of sales all my life because I learned something that the school system would never teach me.
Outside of the school system, yeah.
Yeah, and that's okay. So now that we kind of understand this 1% thing, let's talk about what you've learned and how do the 1% think and act and operate, and what can we practically take away from that today? And then we'll obviously get to programs and things that you run, but what do we need to learn from them?
Well, most people are living from the outside in a reactive state, and they're thinking based on their current level of awareness. So they look at their current results to cause their thinking. They look at their current body, their current bank account, their current job, their current relationship. So they wake up in the morning and are looking at what is, right? Which is just manifested energy of yesterday, yesteryear, and 10 years ago. And if those things aren't serving them, if they're not, either healthy or in a loving relationship or financially where they want, then their thinking is not good, right?
Yeah.
So they're using the results to cause their thinking, and the thinking causes their feelings. Right? Now, if somebody feels sad, what they're really saying is, I'm consciously aware that I'm in a low vibration. So universal law of vibration. And if somebody's really excited, like we are here, what we're really saying is we're consciously aware that our mind-body connection is in a high vibration. So feelings equals vibration. Now, feelings cause the body to move or not move, right? If you're depressed, you procrastinate. If you're excited, you move.
Yep.
So, and we have a little graphic for this, right? But so most people are looking at results, which is the physical manifestation. Instead of 90 degrees out of phase, like we think, we wake up in the morning with new thinking, right? You don't get a phone and then think about it.
Right.
You have to visualize something that doesn't exist, like your future wealth, your future body, and you have to hold that vision. So you're actually going to a high level of awareness and setting goals. And the first time I did this working with Bob about 12 years ago now, I had a construction company doing about $1 million a year. And I said, okay, we're going to go to 10 million in 12 months. So long before Cardone was running around doing the 10X thing, we set a 10X goal. Right? I had never even thought of that. $1 million to 10 million in 12, that's 1,000% growth. Like, who would think of that? Well, the 1%, that's how they think, right?
Yeah. And
that's not even a big goal. It's just, that's as big as I was thinking back then. And just that simple information, 12 months later, we were at 8.5 million. So I failed to hit the goal. But that's normal thinking, right? So most people are setting goals small because they want to hit them and feel good about hitting their goal. But the 1%, we set goals that are so big and visionary that even if we fail by 70%, it's an order of magnitude bigger than anybody else is even thinking. And that's kind of what we teach C-type goals, right? So you go to where you want. So my current goal is 21 billion in net worth and assets by age 60. And it's not big or small. It's just relative, right? There's a universal law of relativity. And if I was sitting with Elon Musk and Warren Buffett and Jeff Bezos, they'd be like, that's a cute goal, kid.
Right.
So we got to understand relativity. That number is not big or small. It's just relative to your belief system and your experiences.
Yeah. And talk about that a little bit more, because we feel so many times like we're stuck in how we were raised.
Yeah.
How can somebody break out of that?
So same thing I did, right? When I met Bob, I took some of his courses. Now we teach those courses. So finding a mentor that has the results that you want. It's actually very simple. If you're in real estate, go find somebody that's doing, 10 million a year, 100 million a year in real estate and convince them to mentor you. or buy their books, study their things, surround yourself with that information. It's actually so simple that most people miss it. All this information is in libraries for free.
Right.
But people don't value free. We don't value love. We don't value health, right? So since we don't value what's free, most people need to pay 10 or 50 or 100 grand with a mentor, because now they're in, right? They've moved energy and money in, and now they'll listen and do the work. But the reality is the information's all free. It's just, people don't know where to get it, number one. All the information I have, it's not mine. It wasn't Bob's either. We've just been really good students and really good at gathering and then presenting at like a 5th grade level.
Right. Yeah. Well, and that's it. It's communication, right? And communicating down, like you said, 5th grade level. And I used to read books by Zig Ziglar a lot. Right?
Zig.
and he would always write at a 5th or 6th grade level. You don't have to impress people with fancy words. You're trying to get a message out that's simple.
Yeah, 100%.
That's great. That's great. I love your talk about mind and body. I use we do a lot of counseling and talking to people, and I use the acronym TEA, like coffee and tea, for T: thinking, emotions, actions. And they all three work together. If I'm feeling depressed, I can either change my thinking or I can change my actions to change that, right? And it goes back and forth, but it's a really fast acronym to go, why am I not getting the results I want, or I say that I want? It goes back to at least one of those three, really simply to go, oh, I need to change something. Do you find similar things?
You're 100% on point. So what you're talking about is spirit, intellect, and body. So human beings, we exist on three planes. We're a spirit, we're expressing through a body, and we have an intellect. So when you say thinking, you're saying intellect, and when you're saying emotions, you're saying spirit, and when you're saying actions, you're saying body. So you're saying the exact same thing.
Okay.
Now, most people are just physically trying to succeed in life. That's how we're taught. We're born in a mechanical age, not a spiritual age. And most people think when you say spirit, it's religion, and that's not the case at all.
Yeah.
Spirit is consciousness. It's what people call God. It's the life force inside of us. And even an atheist, you can't deny that an acorn grows in an oak tree. It's like, okay, what's the force that's doing that? That's what people call God.
Right.
So once we understand some of this, and understand most people are only really existing on the physical plane, and they're wondering why they're in the same job, the same result. They're not studying with the intellect, right? A year ago, September, I knew not that much about day trading. And then I hired a mentor and I studied for an hour a day. And a year later, it's easy to pull 100K in like 20 minutes off of the Forex trading. I have a new language, right? I got a mentor and I did the work. So intellect, and then spiritually, it's what we teach. So I already had the mindset, of course I can learn it. No negative beliefs. If he can do it, I can do it. There's no resistance there. Most people are stuck in resistance. Well, that person can do it, but I can't do it. They're extras in their own movie, right? They don't realize they're the star in their own movie. So I have no limiting beliefs about anything anymore. So that part checked off. I know if I study something and take action, I will 100% of the time get the results I want.
That's awesome. Yeah. And that's so freeing. And I think you just hit it, the limiting beliefs that we're actors in our own movie, or how that's great.
Extras in your own movie. Yeah.
Because that's where we're stuck. Yeah. And we say, okay, well, you know what? My business is growing at 20% a year. And that's good.
Depends who you ask.
Yeah, it really is. Because some people will go, really? Yeah. I mean, could you grow at 200% a year? Well, no, you can't. We start making excuses to justify, because we think it's going to be so hard. And I remember reading Think and Grow Rich years and years and years ago, right? And it's that whole concept of thinking. But also when I read Stephen Covey's 7 Habits years ago, he talked about there you go, Think and Grow Rich.
But this copy is signed by Bob Proctor.
So, but it's those books that make you. Covey talked about 2 creations, right? The mental creation, the visualization, and then the physical creation of whatever that. I mean, the iPhone didn't come out just out of nowhere. Right. Jobs had the ideas like, this is what I want. Henry Ford with the V6 and all, or V8. That's how we need to operate and realize there are no limits. You need to go learn. You're going to find a mentor, put yourself around the right people. And I tell people all the time, find partners. Because that's how my business has grown, is I find partners who I'm really, really good at what I do, Brian. Okay. I just can't get outside of my lane because I get mediocre. Now I could go find a mentor and do all that, but I bring partners in. We all grow. We serve our clients much better that way. There are so many ways to accelerate that growth that most people they're like Eeyores, right? Woe is me, and they're all doom, and it's like, no, let's be a Tigger. So I can go off on a tangent. Let's talk practical things, and then I want to talk about some courses and things of how you guys work and things. But somebody's listening to this. What would you say, like, first thing? What would you say to get them to kind of clear their mind, shake their head, and go, okay, I need to start. I was going to say thinking differently. That might not even be the right phrase.
Yeah, I mean, the first thing that people need to do is decide what they want. So that there's understanding paradigms and mindsets. So we're born a blank slate, right? Your subconscious mind has no programs. We can't speak, we can't walk, we can barely eat, right? And then it's important to realize that we're programmed by ignorant people, and ignorance is not a bad term. It just means not knowing.
Right.
Unless you, like I said, unless you grew up with like Richard Branson or somebody who knows, spirituality and philanthropy and a bunch, right? Almost nobody. It's 1 in a million people. So everybody else, we're being programmed by ignorant people, and then we get thrown into an ignorant school system. And there's no blame. It's not good or bad. It just is. But if you realize that we're born a blank slate, and then we're given limiting beliefs over time by these people, we never chose those beliefs. So the first thing to do is just kind of realize that and forgive and forget. And then understand that we can reprogram the subconscious. Like, that's why our company's called The Matrix, right after the movie.
Yeah.
I didn't have the program of Forex trading last year, right? Now I have it because I spiritually, intellectually, and physically took actions.
Right.
And like I said, now it's 7 figures a month, right? And that's just one of 36 revenue streams. So if I can do it, anybody can do it. And that's the first thing to understand, right? So first you got to decide, what do you want? Almost nobody knows that. If I say, what's your goal? Most people, what do you mean? Or they haven't made a decision. So how would you ever achieve something if you didn't first decide, this I will do? And that's what we call setting a goal. So the first time I did this, like I told you, I said 10 million in 12 months. I wrote it on a card and I carried it in my pocket. So everybody in your audience needs to get a goal card, whether it's a physical goal, a relationship goal, or a financial goal is irrelevant. We need to auto-suggest, which is chapter 4 in Think and Grow Rich, from the conscious into the subconscious. So that's why we carry it around. Now, less than 1% of the world has a written goal, right? And 1% of the population earns 96% of the world's wealth. That's not a coincidence.
Wow. Yeah.
Right? People that are having a goal card and they read it every morning, like take it out, read it 10 times, get emotionally involved in it. That's the first step. And once we get into the frequency of this goal, it's going to raise that thinking. It's going to change our frequency of thought. We'll start attracting people, places, things, and circumstances to move us towards that goal. And I know that sounds like either too simple or kind of ethereal, but let's say somebody sets $1 million goal for the year. I always tell them, if you knew how to do it, you'd already be there. So you're not ever going to know how. Decision leads creation. We don't, you don't get a phone and then think about it. You dream about it, obsess about it, and then you start taking action towards it, right? So then they might open up a business or try a network marketing company or a partner, whatever, join a mastermind group. I highly recommend those. I'm a part of 6. Mastermind groups accelerate things quickly if it's the right group. Revenue streams, understanding. If you want to start a company, it's like, oh, you're a marketer, you're in sales, you're a digital assistant, you're this, and you have these teams of people that are instant. You can just create company after company after company. But it starts with setting a goal and then repeating the goal in the morning, noon, and night.
That's great. That's great. And we'll stop there. We could dive down deep, but that's enough.
That's enough. Yeah.
Write it down. Decide on what you want. Write it down. How many times have we heard that? Write it down and then repeat it morning, noon, and night. Love it. That's great. That will get you so much further. Let's pivot now. Let's talk about your company and what you do, how you help people. How can somebody get a hold of you? Things of that nature. As they're sitting out here listening, they're sitting there going, "Who is this guy? How do I find you?"
So our company is the Matrix Success Network, and the easiest way to get a hold of us is BrianDalmaso360.com. So it's BrianDalmaso, BrianDalmaso360.com. And there's just a little form there to fill out about where you're at, what you're looking to do. We have 7 different offerings, everything from if somebody's completely broke to we have people that are already worth 100 million looking to get to billion, right? And then we do one-on-ones in corporate. So once we have that little assessment, we can figure out what might be the best to serve them and to help them on their journey.
That's awesome. I'm gonna make sure that's in the show notes. So briandalmaso360.com is the website. From there, just fill out the information and take it from there. Have conversations.
Yeah, have a conversation. I mean, even if somebody jumps on a call with either me or my team, they're going to leave with some actionable items.
Yeah.
Whether they work with us or not is irrelevant.
Right.
The right people will, or the people that resonate with us will, and others, they're going to leave better off than we found them.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right, so we're gonna have that in the show notes. I love conversations like this, Brian, because it continues to expand my mind and to realize there are no limits.
No limits.
I was reading
the only limitation is our physical timeline, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But what can you do in that physical timeline? You can do a lot, right? And if anybody else has done it, you can do it too. Going back to your thing, and that's awesome. This has been a great conversation, Brian. Thank you for being my guest. And just so genuinely just sharing what you've learned from somebody else, and now you're pouring it out to others. I really, really applaud you for doing that.
No, thanks for having me on the show. And this company here is what I do for purpose. All the other revenue streams, those are, I mean, they're passion and stuff too, but this is why I'm on this planet, right? This is why Bob did what he did up until his dying day. This is why his mentor, Earl Nightingale, did it. Napoleon Hill was his mentor, Andrew Carnegie. So I'll be doing this, until my body stops moving.
That's right. Yeah. Earl Nightingale. I remember that, listening to him years and years ago. Wow. He was like probably the first motivational thing I ever.
Yeah.
You become what you think about.
Yes.
Earl Nightingale. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Brian, it's been a joy having you today, buddy. Thank you.
Thanks, brother. Good to meet you.